Hello, everyone. James here with Stuart and Counterfeit. Kind of doing a chill stream. This looks relatively official, but it's not. We're just hanging out, watching some locals from my local game store in Brighton, playing some Riftbound. Stuart, I know you've been eagerly awaiting this set. How are you feeling about watching some Spiritforged?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot over the past, few weeks ever since all the cards got released. I've been watching a lot as well. Um, but of course, most of the tournaments I've been watching are just like more European tournaments. So it's nice to see some locals get involved, some Brits get involved to see, what they've got cooking. As of course with Bologna just around the corner as well.
Yeah, exactly. Counterfeit. This is the first time we're working on card games together. I know you've been playing many. What's your thoughts on Spiritforge? I'm going to get the players into game, and we can get going, and I'll explain
Oh
as
no,
we go. But
absolutely.
I'll let you go through your thoughts on Spiritforge.
I mean, honestly, I'm here tonight to learn. I think Stuart's, and you guys are very much ahead of the curve already. For me, my knowledge is much more theoretical. So I think when it comes to actually seeing what happens when these decks are playing against each other, I think I'm still, a lot of my understanding is still caught up with the hype when the set, a lot of the reveals initially happen. But I really want to see how these work out in practice.
Fair point, and very much I do as well. So first matchup we've got is going to be Irelia and Leona. I've let the players get into it already. We're playing on TCG Arena, so for those of you that aren't familiar, obviously we have access to Spiritforge cards already, so we're able to get ahead of things. Irelia is one of the new champions for Spiritforged. And I've played a little bit against Irelia, but Stuart, I know you've been kind of spamming games with Irelia in some circumstances in practice.
Yeah, especially against Irelia as well. Irelia is one of these, legends that can just keep on moving units all around, and you got things like the Stellar Core that you see on the other side of the board at the moment with Leona, just moving units around and around. And when you combo them with the champion Irelia, with some other units as well, you'll be able to farm up a lot of gold, but also keep on drawing as well, which I think is such a big thing at the moment with Riftbound, with so many different decks right now being able to draw so many cards and keeping up with the tempo.
Yeah, I mean the tempo is, I think, of like card draw. I think that's the biggest change from Spiritforge is like you just draw so many cards in this set. Like if you play purple, you're like, oh, I'm going to see half of my deck by the third or fourth turn.
Yeah, I mean, even if in this case we are not actually playing Draven, we can see already, the amount of stuff that's coming out. I like to see the Cyril getting a little bit more aggressive. I got a couple of Leonas in hand, so hopefully we'll get something spicy.
Contesting a battlefield to begin with. We haven't had a whole lot of time to like talk through the beginning of the game, so hopefully we get a chance as it slows down to look at battlefields and exactly where things are going. But Dreaming Tree, we talk about card draw. That's just OG card draw from set one, right? Dreaming Tree Discipline is like I'm going to draw a
Yeah.
bunch on my deck.
Yeah, it gets the fight as well. So not only denying the combat, the extra +2, but also denying 2 card draws as well, which is pretty insane. Actually, should still get 1 card draw actually from Dreaming Tree, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
That should be how it works. But I don't think the player actually drew 1 card from Discipline. But when you target a unit at the Dreaming Tree, you still get to draw a card, even if it does get defied away. Of course, the defy denies the Discipline draw, but then has to force out the on guard as well. So of course, drawing with the on guard instead, and we'll be just trading 1 for 1 for now.
so
Okay, that's the main thing when you've already got the Celicon draw in hand.
yeah, I was just looking at where we're going next on this, and like there's the Leona out from hand. I played against Leona maybe once or twice. It actually is like surprisingly annoying. I think I was playing Kaiser in that game, and I just felt like I couldn't kill anything, especially like with so many combat tricks to just get around kill spells. So I'm interested to see how Irelia deals with that, because I think there's a somewhat similar play style of like being able to buff things very quickly and just kind of make combat a lot less obvious than it seems, especially with cards like Guardian Angel. It feels like things don't die in this matchup very easily.
Stuart, tell me if I'm wrong about this, but suddenly I was hearing the sort of the discussion being that with Aurelia being sort of a protect the president style deck, that it at least theoretically struggle against decks that were trying to, that stunned her because, there's only one of her to stun.
Yeah, normally there's like two different styles of Irelia decks. I think you've got the one that only really plays Irelia, and that's about it. But there's been a few other decks that have been coming around playing things like the Stellar Core, the unit that also gets to get, farm a bunch of gold as well by moving. But yeah, as you mentioned, stunning units, especially the Irelia, is going to be really annoying because even if you do buff the Irelia, it's still going to get stunned. It does, however, mean though that you still have to try and break through the Irelia because, for example, the Leona determined right now when she does attack, she can stun the Irelia. But if Irelia gets stunned and Leona doesn't have enough might, then Leona just goes back to base. It's not able to conquer that battlefield. So even you don't have too much, then you still have a bit of extra in the end, as well as we see the hidden card. Even
Yeah,
it is revealed. It
I
is
was
a hidden
gonna
card.
say
That's a
that
bit weird.
that is hidden. I was like, we're not just playing cards randomly here. I was like, oh, they're gonna try and make it move this turn. I'm like, don't think that's how this works. But yeah, as you said, like with I think this is the matchup we played the other day, right? Where, as you said, you just kind of move around a lot and double conquer with just like the one unit. I've been fixing some tech in the back side of things, so I'm still catching up a little on this matchup. But I will say, coming from like casting League of Legends, I always appreciate when the champions thematically work like you expect them to. Like we've all played against Aurelia's in game, where you're like, oh, she just kills everyone all the time. First she's over here, now she's over there. But here comes, like, I guess one of the first attempts of the stun that you were talking about.
Also a Zenith Blade in hand as well, but it could be a play of you stun the Irelia, then you can Zenith Blade to move the Fiora in. Not too sure if that's enough might. It could be enough might. I'm trying to zoom in on my eyes to remember how much might Leona is, and also the Guardian Angel is as well. Not too sure if the fight or flight did get flipped and move the Leona back. Not too sure.
It looks like it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so yeah. Fight or flight used just to move Leona back. But with that Zenith Blade in hand, there is another tool that you can use to stun an enemy unit, but then also move another unit in. So the play there was try and move Leona in, stun the Irelia, then I guess stun it again, which doesn't do anything, but it moves the Fiora from the base as well, which would have been enough to take down that Guardian Angel. But that being said, it wasn't enough, unfortunately. This Irelia stays on there. And that means that Leona just has to play a Guardian Angel in base, equip it to that Leona, and just pass turn. And already we can see that the Irelia has the early point lead.
Well, something I wanted to pick up on was what Stuart mentioned before, stress with the whole thing of we've got the Gun Angel in play, we've got these the stuns which will give us the buff as well, because of course Leona being in play herself. But right now, at least, she can attack in with the 5, turning that into a 6 on defense. Of course, we know what's in their hands. So we know that there are other defensive options in play, but I like the attempt from Serial.
Yeah, this is a high cost play though, like recycling all the way down to 2 runes now. Like this basically, for me at least, and again I haven't played a whole lot of Leona, for me this is an uncomfortable position if you don't get this to work. And knowing there's a GA on the other side, you're like, oh, you really have to commit a lot by the feel of it.
Yeah, and as we can see as well, the gold going to be used, and also the 1 extra rune going to use the Defiant Dance, which is going to negate this whole engage and this whole play from the Leona player. So unfortunately means that the Leona loses -2. Irelia gains +2 as well. I think one of the strongest legend ability, I guess one of the strongest signature spells coming into Spiritforged, just only costing 1 and being able to give your unit +2 and an enemy unit -2. It just sways the fight so heavily.
The first time I got hit by that, I was like, oh, that is painful. That is that is the worst kind of combat trick, is one that hits both. And something as a Magic player that is unfamiliar to me, and I always have to keep remembering, is like buffs and nerfs are like, in my mind, infinitely better than damage in Riftbound, because things heal up to their might right after a combat. So like damage is temporary, damage just goes, but if you get buffed, even if it's till the end of the turn, you get it and you heal all the way back up. So like that difference in playstyle for me, it took quite a while to get used to for the difference in card game.
Also, I do want to bring up the well, first of all, Isaiah, of course, with all these early dancing, has managed to pull ahead pretty far in terms of points. I like as well you mentioned Heart of Darkness. While it's kind of slow compared to some of the other cards, you can only use it kind of in your turn. Getting +3 on tap now for this Irelia going forward, which also targets her as well, means she's just a wrecking ball wherever she wants to move through.
Yeah, it's one of the many tools that Irelia has in her kit to be able to target one of her units, to be able to then use her legend, which means you can ready her. And the annoying thing is that when you conquer something, you can then pay one to ready the Irelia legend again. So if you target another unit with another spell, then you can ready it again. And it's just this constant way of Irelia just gaining early points. And with that Guardian Angel as well, it makes it so difficult. As you can see, the Leona player actually deciding to just completely avoid the Irelia, but we know that the next turn the Irelia can move back to base. Irelia player can just use Heart of the Dark Ice again, use the legend, and then move the Irelia into that Dream Tree as well to try and take down Fiora. So I think it's going to take a lot now for this Leona player to come back, as you mentioned, Stress, with only 3 runes up now as well.
And also now having a bunch of abilities in hand, like Defies, nice and versatile. Not So Fast is pretty versatile as well. And then you've got a stack deck. So if you don't have your option, you could always hold it, but as an action, it's not as flexible perhaps as you might really like. But C3 take 1 is always good. Pretty much when you've got nothing else to do, when you're holding a handful of counters, what else are you going to do but go grab a combat trick?
I mean, it's just the Not So Fast, especially, is just so gross here because we can see in the hand for Serial. Yeah, we've got the Zenith play, we've got the new stun coming as well. A lot of stuff that really wants to be targeting this Irelia, but it's just you're going to get devastated if you try and build your plan around it. But presumably, you still have to try and build your plan around it, even if, as we can see, it's possible it will go disastrously.
I love that it's called Thwonk. Everyone talked about how good this card was going to be, and I'm like, I'm not saying it's not, but I think it's not as good as drawing a million cards. and it's certainly not good in this situation. Well. Exactly. I'm like, well, if at first you don't succeed, oh, that's harder to say. Thwonk and Thwonk again.
It's poetry.
If I can get it out. Poetry as written by Dr. Mundo.
One of the underappreciated artists of our time, honestly. But we've got the 2 Leonas. We're Serial down by a ton of points. Doesn't really feel like they've got a huge amount of ways back into the game.
No, I think it's looking pretty rough here for the Leona. Again, 2 Thwonks in hand. A Zenith Blade, which is not going to do too much, is going to go in and try and stun the Irelia, but we know that there's a Defiant hand. We know there's a Not So Fast and a Discipline in hand as well. So yes, that Irelia is going to get stunned. Of course, the buff is going to come through thanks to the legend. So the Leona is on 5 and Irelia is also on 5, I believe, with the +1 from Guardian Angel. So they would Leona would win because obviously the stun, but then we know that disciplines and that are in hand as well, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I guess my question is now, is there enough even to make it so that Irelia is not in a position to just conquer both next turn?
That's gross.
When you're looking at it and you get, okay, another combat trick and another counter. So again, if that doesn't go off...
I was going to say, there's a world where Isaiah wasn't massively ahead on points, where you can just stun again and again and again, but it feels like matchup-wise, we were talking before about the idea that maybe Leona would be a real problem for Irelia. It just doesn't seem like that's the case at all, at least here in Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, the stuns are nice to stop the combat damage from coming through, but the problem is you have to kill the Irelia. You have to actually find a way to take it down, and sometimes it's mainly to do with the purples, with things like rebukes. You try and put something back to your hand, or you try and move it with fight or flight to move it back so you can get some early points. But Leona's not really a deck that has many tools to try and move the Irelia where she doesn't want it to be, or try and do other things as well. And again, we're going to be seeing the same thing: move back with Irelia, use the Heart of the Dark Ice, use the legend again, just ready Irelia and potentially try and go for the winning point here into Leona with Guardian Angel. But Again, not too sure if the we do have some stuns though, so it
Oh,
should be okay.
that's.
Oh,
I
I was
mean,
gonna use the
you can
chance
just
to
get
be
her out of
back.
there. Who
Oh
even
no.
needs to? Who even needs to get through the Guardian Angel if it's not in front of you?
If there wasn't a charm, all of these stuns would actually be useful because they'd stop they stop the Irelia from actually scoring the battlefield because you wouldn't be able to win the combat. But the charm is just, that's disgusting.
I mean, the Leona player can still use Zenith Blade when Irelia moves in, so you can still stun the Irelia, move the Leona in, which is probably going to be the play.
Well,
Yeah, Zenith Blade.
Can you do it twice, Stuart? Is the
Not when you recycle
Well,
all your runes.
Yeah,
But it can't be defied, right? But I guess it can be not so fasted.
It can be not so fasted.
it
Yeah.
can be not so fasted. Yeah, I guess that's it then. Yeah.
That is all you need at that point. Not so fast, which has got a buff today already. Not in this matchup, but that is the 8th point going over to Isaiah for game 1. We are playing best of 3, so I'm sure there'll be some sideboarding going on. And yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game 1 of a matchup I doubt we'll see too much. I think one of the reasons we'll see this matchup will be people hunting for best cards, like best performance, when it comes to like Bologna and those types of events. But I don't know that I'm expecting to see too much Leona outside of that.
I mean, when you've got the thwunk there, as you've gotten up in the corner, where it's like the big card to get excited about, and as we saw, like in that matchup, it's just not going to get you anywhere at all. Then it's sad times. But one day, Stuart, one day, Leona will be in the sun.
Yeah, I don't think Leona. I think she got like a few decent cards, like the Thrunk, for example. We actually saw the Leona player actually running Irelia himself, in this Leona deck. So maybe trying to use the Irelia to try and use the deflect, and of course, trying to maybe use some extra equipments with Guardian Angel. But yeah, we saw that the Irelia with the Legend being able to just move it all around and just gain up so many points early on just makes it very difficult for this Leona. And then you have tools in your back pocket. I've already had to deal with things like Defies all the time and Not So Fast and Wind Walls, and there's just so many tools that the Irelia has, the not only a great combat tools but also great tools to try and deny as well. As we see a salvage, actually, this probably a sideboard card here for Leona, trying to take out things like the Guardian Angel.
Just to note, we're in double Targon's Peak. So battlefield selected. Yeah, at this point everybody gets to untap. So we'll see how that affects it. It's always kind of interesting when you both are playing decks that kind of want the same battlefield setup. But yeah, I still haven't played enough matchups with mirror battlefields to know exactly how it affects things.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly saw before that Irelia ended up with a ton of stuff in hand, like answers, which felt like they were more impactful than what Cyril is saying. Sorry, I've been saying cereal because I'm still a little bit hungry, but it's Cyril.
Oh, hang on. It is meant to be cereal, I think. I think I've just mistyped it. Yeah, let me fix that. Give me a sec.
Okay.
And
yeah,
I've just learned that
at the top, and I see cereal on TCG Arena.
It's cereal. That's my typing. As I said, we're kind of on the rails. Yeah.
Cereal for everybody.
Here we go. There we go. There, look at that, updated in real time. Whoa.
Oh, perfect.
Delicious.
Production values. Yeah, cereal.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I think Double Targon's Peak could be very interesting because, of course, we're going to be getting so many different conquerors, and I don't think we're going to be seeing too much, I think, battles and combat battles most of the time, because both these players just wanted to conquer these battlefields and try and keep some of these runes up and available, because now we see things like Not So Fast in Leona's hand. Now we have the On Guard and also the Salvage. I wonder if the Salvage does come down this turn to try and get rid of something like the Guardian Angel or the Swiftness Boots. Not too sure which one you would prefer. I mean, the Swiftness Boots can be quite frustrating, but also the Guardian Angel as well, as Leona's own Irelias can be coming out and equipping Guardian Angel. But unfortunately, you don't have the Legend to be able to ready the Irelia to push her in, straight away this turn.
It's like the Spider-Man meme. It's like Irelia over there, Irelia over here, Targon's Peak here, Targon's Peak. It's like the world's not mirror matchup, like closest thing to a mirror matchup that actually isn't.
I mean, so just to touch back on your question with the Savage, I think personally speaking, I'd like to see the Savage held just because it is an action. just to try and mess with Isaiah's ability to kind of make these combat calculations, just because it's so central around, do you win or lose a given fight? And maybe the salvage isn't anticipated.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you just use it in terms of like just giving you extra combat power just to try and get rid of something. Whatever gets equipped here to the Irelia, you can try and take it away. Maybe you can push in with your own Irelia next turn, and then if something like the Guardian Angel does get equipped, you can salvage when you push in into the showdown. So yeah, I can see that being a play of like, yeah, let's just get more units on the board with something like our own Irelia and try and find ways to try and make extra use. Unfortunately, the salvage is not going to be used here because it doesn't have any runes left available. But with one rune up, I don't think it's going to have enough damage either to take down the Irelia, even with the on guard. So I'd like to see the Irelia hopefully trying to push in to try and take the left Targon's Peak, we should say, as they're both Targon's Peaks. Just a bit hard.
Did they
Targon's marching range.
Am I going crazy? Did Targon's is the untap 2 one, right? We talked about it.
Yeah, when you conquer.
Did they untap on conquering? Did I miss that?
He didn't conquer last turn. He conquered
No,
he conquered.
the turn before and then held. Okay, sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay. Charm gets pushed in. Has to play for the deflect cost though to try and move the Irelia in, and this is a good play as well because he knows that he doesn't have the runes up to be able to use something. Can use the on guard, but then the Irelia player also has an on guard for himself. So most likely they're just gonna trade. Most likely. Double on guards being played. I expect. Yep, there's the one tap for on guard, and on guard's gonna be played on the other side. So should trade. I'm not too sure why there's a 3 on the Irelia. I'm trying to think if she got buffed by anything else this time. I don't think she did.
Maybe it's got left over from before.
Oh no, the 3 is. Oh yeah, no, it was going to be another. She must have been targeted before. Am I crazy?
Oh, apparently.
I think I missed something before the Irelia got targeted. Yeah, because Irelia gets +3 from on guard and not +2 because of her ability as well. Every time that she gets targeted, she gives herself +1. So she would have got +1. Oh no, she probably would have got +1 from being ready as well. So she got +1 from being ready because of her the Irelia legend. She would have got another +1 from Guardian Angel being equipped. That also works as another +1 for Irelia. And then the +1 from Guardian Angel as well. Yeah, so the Irelia already had +3, and then another on guard means another +3. So that Irelia was +6 last time.
We're so deep down the rabbit hole.
The numbers don't lie; they spell trouble for cereal.
Yeah, I had to backtrack there to try and think about how did they Irelia get +3 already. But yeah, that makes sense now with all the readying happening and the equip from the Guardian Angel.
But I mean, that is half of this deck, right? Is like it's a deck where if you can follow the path as far down the rabbit hole as to get your untaps, to get your targets, to get your +1s, if you can work that out, you'll do well playing a deck like this. If you can't work it out, don't play this deck, right? Like this is definitely
it's a lot to keep track of. Like you can easily miss a trigger, or you can easily miss a +1 from somewhere, and that can be that can mean such a big difference.
Well, something which we didn't see from the previous game 1, once we started to run a little bit lower on the cards, is the Leona Zealot, which is sitting in there as a chosen champion for Serial, can be incredibly good if you can just find any kind of way to stun someone. The -8 and coming in ready means hopefully for Serial it will be enough to swing the matchup back.
There's the salvage you're talking about. This is in a showdown that Serial is the one attacking, right? Like has come back in, now is attacking, going to try and salvage the I know I was going to say guess another one. Perfect. The GA gone. So now this is that moment where you're like, okay, you're going to force out some combat tricks. Looking at what is in hand. Not so fast is only on things that target your own units, right?
Yeah, it won't welcome discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of rough because Cyril doesn't have any other combat power in his hand. The only thing he can do is
salvage
just
again.
Play the salvage again and kill like the boots at the back and then just hopefully draw something.
No way. No way.
It doesn't have any runes up left.
Oh
So
yeah, of course. I'm getting
it's gonna-
baited by the hidden rune deck at the top. I was like, no
Oh.
way have you got one rune up in order to play
yeah,
it.
isn't gonna be able to use it. And yeah, the Irelia is just gonna die. So pretty rough, unfortunately, for the Leona
Oy.
player. And just again, like every single spell that you're playing on this Leona, people have to remember that you also get a +1 as well. So discipline gives you +3. On guard gives you +3 if you're alone as well. Defiant dance, because you're targeting your own unit, also gives you +3. So there's so many things with this unit, and why a lot of people consider at the moment Irelia to be one of the strongest legends and one of the strongest champions coming into Spiritforged, because there's so many buffs that purple green have that you can use to keep on buffing this Irelia and basically make her unstoppable.
We're back to where we were before.
Yeah,
Isaiah 5 points to 2, and Leona on the very, very firmly on the back foot.
yeah, it's really difficult. Like you look at how much you throw at getting rid of the GA, and you think, okay, maybe that's enough if I can get through. Just gotta kill the Irelia once, and maybe I can stabilize. And then just Irelia, just with enough targets, enough combat tricks, and now with like the Defiant Dance in hand, I feel like that always signals that you're in a comfortable position.
Well, the thing we'll be looking at from this point with 5 points in place for Isaiah is that Leona Zella is live. So we could start to see some shenanigans coming in there where the Leona Determined goes in, to stun the Irelia, maybe bounces off of her, or just to bring the Zella. And the -8 hopefully should be enough to overcome a decent amount of buffs coming Irelia's way.
Most likely just going to use salvage first to try and draw a card. Yeah, just take the boots off the Irelia. Needs to draw another card here as well to try and, I think, break through potentially for this battlefield. Oh, well, that's a pretty decent one. But you can't unfortunately use the Stellar Core and also Xenoblade to try and push 2 units into this other battlefield. So you can stun one with Leona, give Leona a buff, and you could play Call to Glory for free to give the Leona +2. So this Leona would be on 6, which should be enough to break everything down. But we know that Defiant Dance is in hand for Irelia. Could be enough. Nope, just going to decide to save it in the end and just going to decide to let the little sad, lonely Poro die.
Well, it wasn't lonely this time.
Not true, yeah. It doesn't draw a card. It wasn't lonely.
Nah, we don't care about them if they're not lonely.
Not lonely enough for us.
He died with a friend.
Aww.
How awful.
So I'm not necessarily familiar enough with Leona. At this point, are you? So you said you can Call to Glory for free, right? Let me double check the wording, because again, it's a card that
Yes, because Leona has a buff, so you would pay Leona's buff from the Leona Legends,
right?
and then you'd get it for free. But you lose the buff, and you then get +3. So technically, it's only +2. But you can also pay 3 to give it +3 as well. So there's different ways in which you can use the Leona. But just going to use the Defiant Dance right at the start before the showdown even starts. Again, it's going to give the Irelia +3. The Leona on the battlefield is going to go down to 3. Even with the Call to Glory, it's going to be tough to try and break through this Irelia.
Well, we've got as well with the Leona Determined that she's got shield. So she's currently sitting at a 6
not too fast there.
defense.
Yeah, because it does target, right? So it does fulfill, even though it's picking multiple things, it does fulfill the requirements for not so fast. So
yeah,
but that does mean by not so fasting it, you can't. Is Zenith Blade in action? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. It is available for shenanigans in future turns.
Because I feel like there are some spells that do work in showdowns, and then some that don't. Like I thematically expected Piercing Light to work in a showdown, and then like reread it and went to cast it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because to me, that's like such a combat ability for Lucian, right? You like thematically thinking about when are you going to use an ability like that. But no, that would be broken if you could. So I was like, Zenith Blade surely is a combat one, but learning lots of cards. Leona is just so far off my radar from set 1 even that we'll get
I
there.
do want to just at this point in the game is interesting because I think this is a chance for Cyril to potentially take this game because oh no, yeah, if we've got a zealot who can come through and hit Irelia while she doesn't actually have anything protecting her at all. If you can get rid of that Irelia, then Isaiah doesn't really have anything left.
And this is kind of what you're talking about, is once you get the Leona out, that eventually like that -8 would be helpful, but it don't even need it at this point in time, and like basically has stabilized the game.
Unfortunately for the Irelia, just hasn't really drawn the cards, and this is something when I was playing with Jabin as well, when we play against, I play against his Irelia quite a lot. It's like sometimes you feel like you're drawing some games you're drawing like 10-20 cards in your hand, and I'm looking at Jabin's hand when playing Irelia. It's like, how do I deal with this? And then there's some games where you just don't draw any cards at all, and this is one of the games where the Irelia is kind of struggling with card draw, isn't able to get too much in her hand to try and help her out with combat tricks. Of course, we do know there's a Call to Glory in hand. There's also a Zenith Blade in hand as well. The Call to Glory will just be played just to give the Stellar Core +3, so it will be enough to get the +2 from the on guard. But now we know that the Fight or Flight has been drawn in hand, so that could be used to move it back if necessary for the Irelia.
Yeah, I was looking at that Fight or Flight wondering, like, is there a way to just sneak over the line here? If you win this combat somehow, is there a way to get through? But obviously you're trading at least evenly, if not down. So I was like, okay, with 2 units in a Fight or Flight, could you sneak past? But that Zenith Blade's going to make that impossible next turn anyway, right? You just hold the 3 up and you say, okay, I'm going to be able to reposition to where I need to, or just hold both battlefields.
Yeah, the frustrating thing is you can't Zenith Blade now, right? Because Fight or Flight is an action, Zenith Blade is an action, so you can't actually use the Zenith Blade to react to Fight or Flight, because you could have actually used Zenith Blade and moved the Zealot Leona over, or moved the Leona from the base over to the battlefield, but unfortunately he's not be able to. Actually, moves his own Stellar Corn back. Interesting. So it doesn't actually decide to move the other Stellar Corn back. I guess understanding that he's just going to lose next turn anyway, like the Stellar Corn's just going to die next turn, so actually moving his own Stellar Corn back to draw another card that can hopefully help him out.
I think it's real desperation station for Isaiah, though. Once the Irelia's gone, you're just saying stress, like just trying to find some way you can cheat out a second victory here, where all of the cards are in Serial's hand in every respect.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, even a Defiant Dance, I feel like this 6 might Leona plus then you assume some combat tricks in hand is difficult to get through with either of the units that are available for Isaiah. Like on Irelia, these 2 small units, you have to use like multiple pumps in combat, but I think we just DC'd from the game for half a second, but
I think Cyril just DC'd for a bit.
Yeah, there we go. And for a little bit of housekeeping, I think Fight or Flight, when it's not cast as a hidden, is an action, right? So realistically, that change should have completed, and then we Fight or Flighted. But I think the end result is the same.
Yeah, but either way, the end result is the same. Yeah.
The only way it would go wrong is if you then drew one off and the chain stayed. Like you draw the card and you reacted in the same chain. But just in case people watching are like, hold on a second, that's an action.
Yeah, so the Call to Glory and the On Guard would have resolved, and then the Fight or Flight would have been played. Which again, if the Leona player had priority, but of course being the defender doesn't have priority, if he did, then he could have used Zenith Blade to move the unit over, pretty much win that fight, killed the Irelia Stellar Corn, and probably would have won the game from there on out. But looks like Cyril was also trying to reconnect again, so hopefully he'll be back soon.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I see him in Discord. I'm asking if they DC'd. I'm pretty sure they DC'd.
Well, that would be unfortunate.
I know, right?
Zero was in an incredible position in this game.
Is that I don't know whether they have. Oh, maybe they're back. That seemed to. The game just went blank. Can you reload on TCG Arena? I can't remember.
No, I guess you can try and actually, I don't know if you can try and reconnect. Not too sure how that works. I don't know if your board just goes.
The Serial's board just reset. So it must have been that they DC'd. Ooh, that's rough.
And then came back and the whole board reset? Not too sure about that.
Oh, that would be such a shame.
Oh,
Okay,
that
well, I
would
guess
be
we'll.
difficult. That's not good at all. And the
Oh, I don't know
downside.
if I don't know if Isaiah can like maybe indicate if what they were going to draw would have made any difference to the game from that point forwards, because it was pretty much over.
Yeah, I'm just chatting with the players.
You're not too sure what. Yeah, Isaiah would have got one draw. And if that draw was anything, that'd be quite interesting. Sure, it was 6-5, so the elite Leona would have only gone up to 7, so it wouldn't have been over, but I think it would have been quite difficult for the Irelia to come back, depending on the draw state.
Well, sure, you're saying about the, that you play a little bit more with the Irelia decks. Is it like a kind of a central carry that you could use? Like, I mean, we don't have the deck list for these particular players, but do the decks tend to play a second Irelia or something equivalent?
Oh yeah, there's normally like multiple Irelias. You of course have the one in the champion zone that you can play off the back, which is very, very successful and very popular. You do have to be careful though. Most of the time, you don't really want to play the Irelia into your base unless you have something to protect it, especially against like Draven, for example. It could be so annoying, like especially against red decks that can play things like Falling Star or something to try and kill the Irelia on the back line before they can even move out. So yeah, you have one in your champion zone, and then you normally play. I'm not too sure if it's like 1 or 2 extras. Definitely at least 1 extra, but I'm not too sure if three Irelias is a bit too much. But yeah, Stellar Corn's always played in this Irelia deck. Then you also have the gold unit as well, which I've forgotten the name about, the new one that's currently in Irelia's. Oh, Treasure Hunter, that's the one. How could I forget?
I think we'll be seeing
Okay.
a lot of treasure hunters, to be fair, before we're
So
done with the set.
I've spoken to the players. This is an unorthodox result that I would not accept in an actual tournament, but it's fine. Although Serial's thing has reconnected for me, so I'm like, it's kind of interesting.
It's put them back up.
What the players are going to do is the players have said that game 2 they're going to call a tie. So if Serial wins game 3, they'll tie the series. Otherwise, Zaya will win the series, if that makes sense. So that's not an official judge call, that's not how we'd normally do it. Now, I do have the problem though that Isaiah Serial's board for me needs
you might have to maybe
update.
reconnect as a spectator potentially. You might have to just come back to our cams and then
let me
just try and reconnect.
Let's come back to us. Oh, I'm not even.
Oh, you've disappeared.
Yeah, no, I'm gone. Where am
I? Oh no.
There we go. I'll fade in very slowly. I like to make an entrance. Oh, I've got a. Hang on a second. Let me rejoin the joys of live production. Let's.
I think you can just rejoin as a spectator. Hopefully.
Let's.
While we're waiting to get back in, I was having a quick look through some of the other Draven lists just to see what cards we might be seeing in the matchup, and I was curious what your thoughts were on Draven Audacious. That's the Draven who gets the extra points for conquering.
Oh, the purple Draven? Yeah. I think especially over in China at the moment. I know I was talking to Jabin. He was saying a lot of the China decks at the moment are playing at least one purple Draven just to kind of give you an extra edge. And I think it's quite useful because you have I mentioned already, Irelia has so many buffs and so many tools in her kit to be able to buff up the Draven as well. But then you have to be careful because obviously if you lose a combat, then you also lose a point as well. I haven't seen it too much outside of like the China decks that I've been seeing from their kind of challenges and everything that they've been playing. But most of the time, them challenges are only like best of ones. So there's not really too much to go by there. It might be like more of like a cheese pick of like, hey, we'll put one purple Draven in, maybe someone won't expect it and I can cheese out an extra point, which still can make quite a big difference.
An interesting FAQ today from that Draven point. You may have touched about on this in between. The FAQ that you can't win with that Draven point because technically it applies first. The only way you can win is by conquering both battlefields. That one, unlike some
It
of the
would have been
other
gross if it
alternate
had worked that
win,
way.
unlike some of the other alternate win conditions that you can, Draven specifically happens before the scoring phase, which is interesting. But hell, whatever they want to do in the FAQ, at least they've given us that so that no one's confused.
Yeah, I didn't actually know
So-
when that was. So it's actually, I think a lot of people probably did know, but I haven't played against the Purple Draven too much, so I didn't know the Draven actually procs before you conquer. But I mean, it logically makes sense, I guess. So it would normally make sense, but I guess some people might not know that you can't win the game, but you still get to draw an extra card though if you are on 6 points. So
Yes.
it doesn't feel too bad.
As if the
So
deck
for this
doesn't draw
game-
enough.
Oh god.
Yes. Onto this one for this game 3. Serial started off but did not have a 2-drop of any kind. In fact, has barely been able to play anything. Stellarcorn did eventually get out, but Isaiah's been able to get in and grab a couple of early scores and early treasure as well. Irelia out. I mean, we're barely started with game 3, and Isaiah was already way ahead.
Yeah, this
It's
feels a
pretty
little
annoying when you
closer
don't
to
have a 2-drop.
game 1, just in the pace of this Irelia, especially when you're like, because you haven't drawn enough units, your hand is full of everything that you want normally at this point in the game. You're like, look at all these good cards that I've got in my hand, and it's all because I don't have units.
It's going to try and push in with the Stellar Core. We do see things on the other side to actually try and combat it, like things like On Guard and Defiant Dance for the Irelia, but just going to let the Lonely Poro die just to get an extra draw. I don't mind this, like not trading any spells, not forcing any spells early on because you have the Irelia in your base. You'd much rather save your spells for the Irelia, as we mentioned, the Irelia getting that extra +1 from all of these spells. So trading for now, and we see both Irelias with Guardian Angels on either side. I'm starting to think that the Leona deck is basically just a copy of Irelia, but just without the legend.
what I would say, I think with that in mind, like talking about local competition, like local game stores, there are, that desire to like, I want to play this champion. I have this champion from set 1. I want to make sure that I'm getting practice on the deck that I have. So I totally understand it, but I think you might be right. It's like, it's a very similar structure to the deck. But I honestly though, I'm kind of sad about game 2, or what should have been game 2, because personally I feel like the corner was turned without knowing what was on the next card on Isaiah's deck. Obviously we'll never know, but I feel like it was so already there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And we get to see a little taste of what Serial's deck could do, which is, if you get, ideally you're ahead in points, but with all of these stuns, you can make it so that it doesn't matter how strong you are, how many buffs you put on, you can't take points if you're stunned.
I think when Leona holds, this is where Leona actually becomes really strong. She's also really good at attacking as well, because when you're able to stun, when you attack with, one of the champion cards, you can also buff one of your units, but she's also really good at holding because you have so many of these hold spells like the Twonk, like On Guard and Discipline as well. And both these decks are kind of very similar. They both want to hold, they both want to keep using their buff spells to be able to buff things like the Irelia, which we're going to see here. The Treasure Golem moves it as Treasure Hunter, Treasure Golem. The Treasure Hunter moves it in first, which importantly gives the Irelia an extra +1 with On Guard because she was all by herself, and then obviously using the Irelia Legend to move her in as well.
But okay, now it makes a little more sense if you fight or flight the unit that's X. I was gonna say, if you're stunned once in a turn, you don't deal combat damage until the end of the turn. So I was like, oh, where are we going with this? But now with the fight or flight, it does make sense. I was like, there's no point going back in. But I tab back in and I see the fight or flight coming, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Multiple Guardian Angels. Now we're playing League of Legends for real.
So let's see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 combat tricks from Serial. A measly 1 combat trick on Isaiah's side. I think the numbers are looking pretty good for Serial to at least, well, I can get rid of the Guardian Angel, then win the 1v1. You've got a lot of runes to play with. Serial is very far behind in terms of points, but board-wise, I think this could be a very good turn for them.
I think in hindsight, I think Isaiah the previous turn would have liked to just use the fight or flight right at the start. I mean, you could get not so fast, which could be quite frustrating, but you do prefer to have the Irelia on the Dreaming Tree because we're seeing Cyril run the Dreaming Tree this time, and there's the Windswept Hillock on the other side. Defiant Dance will try and be used on the Treasure Hunter, but as I just mentioned, not so fast is gonna come out again. Should be drawing an extra card with Dreaming Tree. I'm not too sure if they yeah, even if it actually no, I don't know if there's not so fast work the same as it works the same as Defy, right? Where it just denies the spell, so you don't get to
Yes, I don't
like,
think it's considered to be played.
yeah, so you still get the draw from Dreaming Tree though. That's it should be how it works, but I don't think unfortunately Isaiah knows that you can still draw with Dreaming Tree even if it gets denied because the picking of the unit, like you targeting your unit, happens before like the ability resolves or before the reaction kind of happens,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. It places itself on the chain.
On the chain, yeah.
Like it will resolve before the spell, but obviously after the counter. It's an awkward timing, but yeah. I still every time I'm looking at the chain, I have to envision like the animation from Magic the Gathering Arena, where it actually like puts a little icon for a triggered ability or like a triggered effect. Or I'm like, yeah, okay, that actually does exist, and I have to remember that it's there. Like,
so the Irelia going to move in again, and then we're also going to see the fight or flight again, which is going to move the Irelia back, which is quite frustrating here for Leona not being able to get points. But again, it's kind of the same situation that we saw in actually game number 2, where Irelia is now just playing off of top deck and just trying to play now around the around what cards the Irelia can get from the top of their deck. But yeah, the Zealot Leona's going to come in, is going to be readied as well, I believe. Yeah, because Irelia's on 5 points. So Leona's just going to move in and take the Irelia down because there's no other combat tricks left available.
I believe
Hopefully.
the Guardian Angel's still in play, so it will be at least.
Oh yeah, we'll survive Guardian Angel. Sorry, yes, true, you're right.
Oh, interesting. Didn't decide to go in.
I guess it's saying there's no way you win on your next turn, therefore I am stronger on subsequent turns because I have you beaten in card advantage, I have you beaten in units on the battlefield, and as soon as I can untap and then use this, you know, you have salvage, you have combat tricks, you have a lot of things still available. I guess there is a risk to it because this is where you end up, you know, your opponent can sneak over the line sometimes, but if it pays off exactly how you think it's going to, then you might be okay. But discipline, as you said earlier, Stuart, we're playing around the Dreaming Tree, so draw 2 makes this a lot more dangerous now, especially when you get those 2 combat tricks off it.
Yeah, and it actually could have triggered the Irelia. I mean, I wouldn't mind the Irelia actually triggering the legend as well, readying the Irelia, which means that Irelia gets another +1, which doesn't mean too much in the combat, but actually means that you can move the Irelia back. But I guess with the Guardian Angel, as you mentioned, Counterfeit, you do not actually force to move the Irelia back, or it doesn't feel too bad to leave the Irelia there, because even if she does die, she just goes back to base anyway.
I suppose at least we're kind of taking out the possibility of getting the hold final point in. So there's the salvage, so which gets rid of the Guardian Angel. Then we've only got combat tricks in hand, and for Serial, there's more combat tricks for them, so they should be able to delete the Irelia and end up in pretty much the same position as we saw in game 2.
Yeah, salvage is rough to see for the Irelia. The exact thing that I was thinking about from the Irelia is like, oh yeah, I don't mind leaving the Irelia. It's got Guardian Angel. Oh, now the Guardian Angel's gone and I can't equip the other Guardian Angel now. So I guess it was best that you either equip both the Guardian Angels and you just hope that, you know, you can survive, because I'm assuming if you have 2 Guardian Angels proc, then only one gets procced, but I don't actually know how that interaction works. I don't know if you have 2 Guardian Angels on the same unit, does both of them proc and both of them die? I've never actually seen it before.
I think that would explain why there weren't 2 Guardian Angels on one unit, because you're right, if it didn't work that way,
Not
then...
sure how it works, to be honest, but...
well, either way, the Guardian Angel's gone. There's the extra combat tricks from Serial, so should be able to win out the combat relatively comfortably.
Yeah, Serial has more than enough here. Double on guard, double discipline. I mean, just going to on guard first, yep. I mean, it's going to be replied by discipline, which is going to mean the Irelia draws 2 cards, but unless you find 2 on guard yourself, then I don't think...
Irelia has also drawn the first one off the Dreaming Tree from Defiant Dance as well, so it's from
and
now
another 2
only
off.
just the one off.
Oh, yeah, true.
Discipline,
Only just one,
so.
yeah. You're right.
So you can't dig quite as far, but you still got plenty of runes up. But here will be the discipline. Looking for another one. Keep going. Defiant Dance off the top would be perfect. Like at least it's going to keep you in the game. But then you look over to the other side and it's discipline on guard. Discipline.
Yeah, it's just too much.
It starts to feel very Yu-Gi-Oh at that point, doesn't it? We're like just throwing down the same cards at each other, making a stack of them to figure out whose number gets bigger.
Defy's not going to be enough either, because the Defy, the draw from discipline doesn't come out until everything else gets resolved. So yeah, that does mean the Irelia falls. But if you don't move the Leona in here, then I was expecting Leona to be moved in here, because if you do play another unit from the Irelia, again, it's kind of like having a hidden accelerate with the legends. You can Stellarcorn, and then you can equip the Stellarcorn with GA, ready it with the legend, and move it in to try and draw another card. But now with 2 of these beefy units, with both the Irelia and the Leona on either side, and we're not a lot of tricks in the back pocket of Irelia. I think this is where Irelia actually struggles. Not a lot of cards in hand, not a lot of the units as well, and not too sure how you're going to break through things like the Leona and the Irelia on the battlefield.
And that's a buff on Irelia, right? So you also have a free Call to Glory on top of multiple combat tricks, right? So at this point, with Charm, you can eat through any units that do get played, and then you can just kind of survive through. I've somehow put Isaiah to the wrong number of points. I tapped the wrong thing. Not quite at not quite at 8 points yet. But that is now 2 holds for Serial, so going to 6.
I mean, the thing is, we were talking a little bit about how powerful some of the early units are in this set. As we can see from what's in Isaiah's base, this is all stuff that would be good, if you've got any form of battlefield control at all and you can move around freely. But with Serial locking down both battlefields and having unlimited combat tricks, you're just stalled out for the rest of the game.
I found myself in Isaiah's position so many times when I have 1 card in hand and I'm looking at the whole board like, what did I do wrong? Where did this go wrong for me? And you look across your opponent and they're literally shuffling through 10 cards. It's why I'm going to play Ezreal in the next set, regardless of whether it's not as good as the other decks. I'm like, all I want to do is have lots of cards. Here's the charm, just to kind of tidy up any units that are left on the board.
I mean, it feels like you kind of have to.
Use it on the Stellarcorn.
I mean, you are going to. You don't mind not define it. Well, yeah, if you get to draw another card, but no, unfortunately, that other card won't be a buff or anything. But I was going to say it's kind of a weird situation, because you don't want to defy it, because you don't mind the Stellarcorn moving anyway, because you're going to draw a card and you just hope for a combat trick that you can try and draw another card with Dreaming Tree. But it's only going to be another Lonely Poro. So yeah. It looks like the Leona player is probably going to close out this game, unless something crazy happens here, unless you get another Irelia from this next draw. But no, just a Defiant Dance. Into going to break through. You have 8 runes up for this Leona as well, and we can see the hand as well. And yeah, I think this might be game 3 going over to Serial.
It's so interesting when, like, with the way the Irelia deck plays out, where we've seen these very different circumstances where if Irelia's alive and is kind of Dreaming Tree all the day long, you have all of the resources you ever want in the world. In a situation like this, where you don't have the Irelia, you don't have like a way to kind of combo this all together, the deck really feels like it falls pretty hard on its face.
And it just feels like we've got to that late game point where, Leona's weathered the storm for long enough that now you're like, oh, okay, every single spell is now going to have big impact. Even the small combat tricks, when you can just keep hold of the points, you can just stay active in the game and come back from a 7-2 deficit.
Yeah, if Irelia is able to control these battlefields and have a lot of early pressure where you can keep on moving around, like the stellar core. I've seen things like Tide Turner being played as well in this type of deck list where you just Turner the stellar core to swap it to be able to draw more cards or get more golds. There is plenty other ways as well. A Defy will come out for one discipline, but we know that there's another
not for the
discipline
second.
in hand. Yeah.
Nobody expected the second one.
And
Nobody
the annoying thing is as well is that the Poro's not even going to die, so
that's true. No draw.
Yeah, no draw, unfortunately. So Lonely Poro's just going to go back, and I think at this point it's
gets the draw off the Dreaming Tree to end the chain, basically, and then
bargain.
That is not enough at this point. Even if you could have cast it in time, it wouldn't have been enough to eat through the 4 runes that remain. That is quite a spectacular comeback, and dare I say, maybe should have happened in both games. But unfortunately, we're at the mercy of technology.
This was definitely where the second game was quite clearly heading. I suppose we get to learn a little bit of a lesson here in terms of, suddenly the Irelia deck feels very scary when it's firing all cylinders, but it does seem to be, particularly with Leona Zealot in play, if you can just find a way to sneak in a body punch, take out the Irelia, then you've suddenly got a completely different matchup.
Yeah, that is one of the archetypes in other card games that kind of do get to this point where it's like, once you break through, I think you referred to it as like Protect the President or that type of thing. Like you'll have some things called like Voltron decks in other card games, which is like all about equipping lots of things to one unit. And I've had the confirmation from the players that is going to be the end of that game. So they're going to end it on a draw. I'm going to come back to us and hopefully it will bring me in this time. I'm here this time. I didn't disconnect. I've heard from the players, so we're going to end that as a draw, but we'll go to break in a second. But just to finish that point, they're infinitely worse when you can't get the units to stick, right? It's like when you're putting all of your eggs in the one basket, quite literally, that's when you need the basket to be as solid as possible. But cool, an interesting first game. We got to see quite a few new cards, which I'm happy about. I will get the players going for round 2, figure out what game we want to watch. I'm trying to pick out as many of the new Spiritforged champions as possible. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. I will send a message in chat before I bring us back live. But see you all in a minute.